So let's create those div containers for the chunks of the website. To create a div container, as usual in Dreamweaver, there's a million ways to do it, but here's how I do it. I think this is really easy and quick. I select the stuff that I want to be in a div container in the code portion here. I'll put it on split so we can see what's going on in both modes of view in Dreamweaver. But when I'm making div containers, I work in code. In fact, I work in code a lot because I just find that working in design can be really unpredictable, and I'm used to hand coding. And so are you. So in any event, I select what I want to go in each div container by selecting it. In this instance, I want the H1 element and the image to be in the div container. And then I go up to the Insert panel. And I make sure that the Layout tab is selected, and the first icon in the Layout tab is the one you use for creating a div container. I'm going to click it, and the Insert Div Tag dialog box comes up. Now I'm going to make all my divs be divs with IDs. It gives you the option of making them either classes or IDs. I'm going to make them divs with IDs. So I'm going to type in the name of the first div, and I'm going to call that header. And I'm going to click OK. And you can see what happens. Dreamweaver puts the header div opening tag and the header div closing tag around the stuff I had selected. Now I put this closing tag on the same line as the image, and I don't like that, so I'm going to move that. Now here's something I always do in Dreamweaver, or in any coding. When I end a div tag, I comment it so I know that this is the one that closes this element. And this is how I do it. I'm going to type end header. Now I'm going to use Dreamweaver to turn this into an invisible comment really quickly. I'm going to select the words that I want to be an invisible comment. And I'm going to go over here to this toolbar, and you see these two little icons that look like dialog balloons. The first one quickly enables you to make some text into a comment. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select Apply HTML Comment because we're working in HTML. And see what happens? It puts all this comment stuff around that. So now you have an invisible comment, and you didn't have to type all those funny characters. So now I have the header div made, and I'll make the main content div and the sidebar div. To make the main content div, I'm going to select all these paragraphs. I'm going to go up here to the Layout panel and click on the first icon, and I'm going to create a div with an ID called main content. An important thing to remember is your ID names have to be all one word. You can't have spaces in them or they won't work. So type in a name for your divs that is all one word. So I'm going to click OK, and see, it made that into a div. Now I'm going to put the comment in. Select a comment and turn it into a comment. The easy Dreamweaver way. Hey, let's look at what's going on now. I'll take a break real quick before we do this last div, the sidebar div. Look at what's going on in the design area. It looks a lot the same. The only thing is you can see where Dreamweaver made a div. And if you click on each of these sort of the indications of a div box, they look like dotted lines when they're not selected. When you do click on it and select it, you can easily, it puts this very bright, thick blue line around your div, and so you know how that's working. And you can see what these are as plain bare bones divs. They don't have any styling applied. They stretch out to encompass the containing content that they have, and they stretch out to the width of their containing element. And so this one's the same. If you look at it in the browser, it looks exactly the same as it did before. You can't tell because the divs aren't styled that they're in there. So let's go back to split and let's select this last batch of content and turn that into a div called sidebar. So I'm going to insert div tag with an ID of sidebar, all one word. And I'm going to make a comment. So now that's commented out and I have 3 divs. The last div that I'm going to make is the div called wrapper. Now, if you recall, we've been doing this for all our websites. You make a div that goes around all your content, and this is the div we'll use to make your website a particular width and to make it center in the browser window. But we're just going to start by actually making it a div. And I'm going to do that by working in just the code window so that I can see everything. So I'm going to do it the same way I did the other divs, but instead of selecting just one thing, I'm going to select all the content inside the 2 body tags. So basically what I'm doing is I'm creating a container that will hold the other 3 containers that I made, the header container, the main content container, and the sidebar container. So with these selected, I'll hit the div icon. I'm going to make it an ID, and I'm going to call it wrapper. And I'm going to select OK. So now you can see that the first 3 divs we made are inside a div called wrapper. And I'll make that comment. So we can see which div this is closing. So now we have that done. Next step will be adding CSS to all these divs so that it looks more like that website, that web page we are heading toward.